Here we are above Alamogordo, New Mexico at the Space Rocket Museum. There are examples here and real actual products here that there's actually, well, right here, this right here, a man sat on the front of that sled and went faster than the speed of sound, first time in the history of mankind. That's the actual sled right there. That right there is a missile tracking dome. I'm going to go down there and show you guys the inside of it. Here is a rocket testing sled. You actually can see down there that it's attached to rails, and they would put different rockets on the back and test them out. This is really neat. You can barely see the white sand out there. And out there, that's White Sands missile range. It's also where the railroad tracks for these were set up so they could test the rockets. Right here's a recovered rocket. Let's go down here to the missile tracking system and take a look inside. Oh yeah, imagine that. It's a missile tracker. See if we can get a picture inside for you guys. There she is in all her glory. What a beauty. Sonic Wind #1 here, folks. I'll give you a little bit more accurate history on this if I can remember correctly. December 10th, 1954, Dr. John Paul Stapp rode this rocket sled called the Sonic Wind #1 to a top speed of 632 miles per hour. The objective of this test, which took place in Holloman Air Force Base, which is right over there. It took place on the Holloman Air Force Base. It was to measure human response to sudden deceleration. To find out more about Dr. Stapp and his research, you guys should visit the Daisy Track exhibit with me on the east side of the museum grounds, and we're going to do that. It's really neat. You're actually going to see the track this was on. Length 24 feet, width 8 feet, speed 632 miles an hour. Right there, man. Pretty cool. And we keep finding lava everywhere here, because there was volcanoes around here. Let's go down here and take a look at this. This should be a ground seismic measuring device. Yeah, it's a ground meteorological device. This was used actually to receive data from the Loci and Arcus sounding rockets, which are on display here. The rockets were developed in the 50s, and they were used to study upper atmospheric conditions as early as the 1930s. So anybody that thinks that we didn't go into space before man on the moon, highly mistaken. Show you guys this right here. See this dish? And that dish way over there. You can go up to it and whisper like this and perfectly hear each other. One person at each end speaking through these loops, which puts you perfectly in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nike Ajax, with its launcher intact. The Nike Ajax was the world's first operational air defense guided missile. It designed to intercept high altitude aircraft. The vehicle consisted of a solid propellant booster and a liquid-fueled upper stage. The Nike Ajax flew at White Sands Proving Grounds, right there, now White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico in 1951. This rocket was operational from 53 to 64. It was the most advanced rocket they had at the time, and it was eventually replaced by the Nike Hercules. These are most commonly known as what we say in Cold War era, when we had missiles in the ground pointing at Russia. These were it. I'm going to take a walk around it. Pretty amazing display here. Actual complete intact track. And keep in mind, when this was made, we were really learning our way around fast in flight. So I'm going to show you something really neat here. See how long this rocket is? Step around here very carefully. It still comes down to turning a wrench. These cogs on both sides would set the rocket side to side so that it was perfectly straight, so that it would not flex in flight. So after all that advanced technology, it came down to a mechanic with 2 wrenches setting that baby upright. And here is your mid-tracking system, which aligns the middle of the rocket. Same concept as the back, but it's all on one rail so that it's easier to move, because that is a lot of weight. Here's your adjustment. I probably shouldn't know so much about these. Shock absorber for the actual launching system to handle the weight. That would have been mounted down on a truck. Here's the most impressive piece they have. And this was used. All these components you've seen are not display models. They've been recovered. You can actually tell by the bluing. And the fact that it's not burned up, it's all stainless steel. Every one of these is a cooling tube. This is an F1 rocket engine. It's the most powerful single-chamber liquid-fueled rocket engine ever flown. 5 of these engines were clustered to power the first stage Saturn V rocket, which carried man to the moon. The engine was built by Rocketdyne Division of North American Aviation. You guys know it as Boeing. Yeah, this is impressive. Look at that char. Give you an idea of just how big it is. Hey, I can't even begin to touch the top. Now, as what they had, these flames would come blowing out both sides, give the rocket more propulsion, and to guide that flame, this beauty was attached to the bottom of it. And this is the actual carrying rig for hauling this to the field for launching. You guys can see how long it's been sitting. Rubber bushings all the way around. This thing cannot get banged around before install. And again, you can see a great example of the bluing and just how strong this steel is. Every one of them little plates can handle 12,000 degrees temperature. Let's move on. And here's the other end of the whispering dish. Got to have a person on each end to make it work. Here we go. I want one. This is an Aerobi 150 with a 2-stage research rocket with a solid fuel booster and a liquid fuel sustainer. Sustainer's way up there. And all 1,037 of these have been flown from November 1943 to January 8, 1985. Many of these were launched at the White Sands Missile Range, again out there. These rockets carried instruments to explore the upper atmosphere as well as biological payloads. Before Sputnik, the Aerobi was the first vehicle to launch man-made objects into space, right here. And this is unfortunately, a launch missile. But basic necessity of mankind. It was deployed by the United States Army in 1972. It was used all over the world: Holland, Belgium, Israel, Italy. This is our basic equivalent backed into a new conventional nuclear warhead on a much smaller scale. Right there's the fuel charging for it, for the sustainer fuel. You'll notice how these fins are all straight except for a kick at the bottom. That was to keep them going straight, yet spinning for long flight. Range of about 75 miles. Well, Lance underwent testing here at White Sands, and that's what made it operational. Our XQ-4 drone. Quite a beauty. January 1956, the XQ-4 Model A, the sleek 33-foot drone, made its first flight from Holloman Air Force Base. It was propelled by a single J-85 biojet engine, which whizzed ahead of the mother planet at controlled speeds of Mach 1. A supersonic high-altitude XQ-4 Model A was produced by the Radioplane Division of Northrop Corporation and was used as an aerial target for air-to-ground missile defense practice. Before we even thought drones could be used for surveillance, we were shooting them up there so we could practice shooting them down. And there's the single rocket engine on the back, obviously been removed. X-7A. Made by Lockheed. We go New York. This rocket serves as a test vehicle for the development of ramjet engines for anti-aircraft missiles. That was its sole purpose, was research and development. This one itself was recovered by parachute with impact, a long nose penetration spike that protect the aircraft from serious damage. That's what that spike out front's for. Because once we test these, we want to be able to come back and replace that tip, and we use the device to test another one. Among the records set by the X-7 were a maximum number of flights per vehicle, which was 13, and a maximum Mach speed of 4.31, 2,881 miles an hour. This X-7 is only one of 6 that still exist. They really literally used them until they fell apart. Just another beautiful piece of aviation history. Very interesting, even though there's no electronics on it. Look at this right here. Electrical plug and an adjusting hole. Can only assume it's for the flight controls, because the only thing that moves on this, as you'll see, is the rear. The front is fixed. And this whole Air and Space Park was named after Dr. Stapp. What a beauty. Well, we're going to close for now, you guys. We're going to head over to White Sands Missile Range. We're going to go over here to the Alamo Canyon. Have a good one.